I'm here now with Kim Shelton and Tracey Bigelow. We're going to have a Q&A now. Let me also suggest that we have a chat. So if you have any questions or any comments, please put them in the chat. Please type them into the chat and we'll get to questions and comments as we can. I want to just do, also please consider making a tax-deductible tip to support MarshStream and these artists. We can use it and it'd be great. Before I start, I'm going to just do a brief bio for both Kim and Tracey. So Kim has been making award-winning independent documentary films for over 35 years. Her tastes are eclectic and she has covered a wide range of subjects from buckaroos in Nevada to Sudanese refugees to war veterans to Buddhist nuns in Myanmar and now higher states of consciousness into Qigong students from Portugal and New Zealand. Her films A Great Wonder, The Highly Exalted, Cowboy Poets, A Thousand Mothers, The Welcome, among others, have won numerous film festival awards and have been broadcast nationally and internationally on POV, PBS, National Geographic, the Discovery Channel, and the BBC. Wonderful. Kim, we'll get right back to you. Tracey Bigelow has been an energy healer since early 2000. Her background prior to studying with, you're going to have to help me with the pronunciation.
Yuansa
Qigong and Renshe. Sorry, pick me. But anyway, I'll have you say those words when we come to them. Was in Reiki and animal healing work. Her main emphasis in teaching or working with people or animals or situations is that love and lightness of being are powerful and necessary qualities in generating an ability to heal. Tracey is a certified teacher of
Renshe
and Yuan Qigong through Renshe International. There you go. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us now. I will start with a question for Kim. So Kim, what inspired you to make this film?
Well, actually, I'm, along with Tracey, have been in the teacher training program with Norberto and Dorrie for the last, well, it's been 2 years since it's been over, but for 6 years we were together with them, studying with the teacher Yuansa, and Norberto had his experience, his realization experience, and one of the directors of one of the organizations asked me to make the film. So that's how it happened, and I have to say my first reaction was no, because I think first of all, I'd come from a long time Buddhist background where you don't talk about enlightenment. And so it was this, I was just coming to grips with what exactly was happening with Norberto. And I felt making a film could be intrusive. It could hurt him, or it could give him a lot of attention. So that was my first reaction. I'm really glad I had to work with my own assumptions. And then I finally said yes, like a day later. Yeah.
And has it, what effect has it had on Norberto?
Well, it's so, I mean, to watch and be with Dorrie and Norberto over this period of time, and we shot in Portugal and in New Zealand, and then also some other in Sweden when they were there teaching. They're just ordinary people, and then they're not. I mean, because they've had these experiences, but it's just so, you feel so wonderful to be with them. I mean, everyone does. And for me, I think there was more of a sense in my own life that came in of just calm and a little bit more of a general trusting and openness. So I've noticed some differences, I think, just by being with them and making the film.
So you've noticed those differences by being with them, not in addition to being part of the practice.
Right, in addition to being part of the practice. Although, I mean, they certainly have inspired me, and along with a lot of other people, to really do the practice. You know, it's one thing to learn a practice, then it's another thing to do it. And they both were highly motivated, and so I think they've inspired me to actually do more practice, do more physical practice, and do more heart, working on the heart. There's still practices of working on the heart, and then there's the work of the patterns in the consciousness. So that's just looking at all of the ways that we have these patterns of mind or patterns of behavior that create our own suffering or suffering of others. So it's a tall order, you know, to work on that stuff, but that's what I'm doing, trying to do.
So both of you, both Tracey and Kim, is this normal Qigong, or is this to go through these patterns and, you know, and look at these aspects, or is that Qigong global, or is that specific to this particular practice of Qigong?
Do you want to answer it, Tracey?
Well, I haven't done other Qigong practices. I get a sense that in other Qigong, you do also work on the consciousness, but maybe not at the level that Yuensa has brought it in, and brought it in a way that is more accessible, I think. Kim, you can help me there, because you, I think, have done other Qigong. I'm not sure, but.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. I mean, I know when I have done other Qigongs, and Qigong is mostly a moving meditation form. I think that's how people understand it. Like Qigong Tai Chi, it's a way to work with calming the mind, and also opening up channels in the body, and having the body bring in more health, restoring energy. But I didn't know that it also, this Qigong, or I should say the Rensha part of it, which is the life cultivation part of it, works with the qualities of the heart and with the consciousness. You know, as both Dorrie and Norberto say, and I totally get this too, is they thought, well, I'm really like an open person. You know, I'm open because my thinking, I mean, I like, you know, I don't have prejudice. This is how my mind works. And then they're working that way, looking at their mind, and then they realize, oh, but my heart's really actually closed a lot of the time. So it's kind of simplistic when you look at it on the outside, but when you turn it towards yourself, it's illuminating, and it's a lot of work.
And I would say that's probably special to this form.
Mm-hmm.
So that is particular to. So how, Tracey, how did you both find this form? How did you find it?
Tracey, how did you find it? I'm not sure I know that story.
Well, I found it, I was going through a dark night of the soul that lasted way longer than a night. And a friend I was at a place where I was almost not leaving. Well, I wasn't leaving the house. I was just in a place of high anxiety and major fear. And a friend was coaxing me one weekend to join her for a weekend workshop in Qigong. It wasn't with Yuensa, though. It was with a different teacher in the Bay Area. But I got started on Qigong with him. And then one of the teachers, or a few of the teachers in that lineage, whatever, with that teacher, had discovered Yuensa. And I had been taking some classes with one of those teachers, and she started teaching his form. So then I was quickly drawn to his work because it went deeper for me. So back to your other question, is what we saw in the film, you know, particular to this form or not? It was not what I was finding in the other. So I said I wasn't doing other Qigong. So there, I missed that part. I did. It wasn't. It was
How unimportant Qigong you were doing.
exactly. Well, I didn't do it that long. Let's say that. I only did it for a few months and then moved over. But it wasn't going as deep. I noticed with the first, even just the first few classes with this other teacher, that it tapped into something that was much more meaningful to me. So that's how I found him.
Kim, how did you find him?
Well, I had studied with 3 other teachers, different teachers in the Bay Area. And again, someone told me about Yuansa. So I started just sort of experimenting with other teachers and then finding him. And I think what really helped me to just be so connected to the teachings of Yuansa was early on. Maybe I'd been doing it for about a year. My husband went with me to one of the retreats, and he'd never done Qigong, and he was just about to have a knee replaced. And I said, well, why don't you come with me, because it'll really put your body and mind in a state to be able to heal well after the surgery, which was planned for 2 weeks after the retreat. And he came, and he couldn't do anything because his knee, he was in such pain. And he was in the back of the room, and I said, stay in the back because I don't want to watch you, and his knee completely cleared up. I mean, I don't know how you explain that, but it did. And
Without the surgery?
He did not have the surgery. No, he canceled the surgery. No, it's like healing happened. Healing can happen that way, just miraculously, just like it happened for Norberto. I mean, Norberto worked a lot on his back, but so yeah, that happened. And that's kind of, I thought, oh, well, that's interesting. Well, of course, it changed my husband's life. Now he's a Qigong teacher, and he's, yeah, and he eventually had the surgery 5 years later, but it wasn't the time for him to have it then.
He'll have 5 years less than post-surgery arthritis, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Which the Qigong will heal.
Absolutely.
It helps it, yeah.
So, I mean, it seems obvious now. One of my questions while I was watching it for the first time with everyone was, why did you pick Dorrie and Norberto? But obviously not everyone goes to that level. Is that what it is? We're all not just going to go to that level?
Exactly, right. Yeah, no, yeah, that's exactly why. They were not looking to go to that level. That's what happened for them. Yeah.
Popped into them.
Yeah.
Due to their hard work and whoever they were and their genes and their whatever they eat, etc. Mm-hmm. Just joking a little, but anyway. So Tracey, one of the questions in the chat was, how do I begin? Thank you. So this is all about beginnings, this documentary, to see it and to become introduced to this. And then Tracey, wonderful Tracey, is going to be teaching this on MarshStream starting this coming Wednesday at 5 for the next 5 Wednesdays. So tell us a little bit about that, what it's going to be.
So it's not just me, it's also along with Jana Chamalis, who I'll be co-teaching with. She couldn't be here tonight, unfortunately. But so we'll be doing a 5-week drop-in class, and we are hoping at the end of it that everyone will be enlightened. So please.
I'm going to be there. It happened in those 5 weeks. I might as well give it a try, right?
We'll have to do a lot of work, though.
Or not.
Or not. All right, exactly. You could just be, what has Yuensa sometimes said, you could be taking a sip of tea and all of a sudden, or hear a loud noise and all of a sudden.
Voila.
So yeah, 5 weeks. It's from 5 to 6:15. We are going to be trying to but guiding the class around the idea of being of performance, since this is a theater, and looking at just thinking about how much is going on in the world right now, and that it can be sometimes difficult to tap into our creative self, maybe, or we're maybe feeling a little stifled or blocked. So we're just looking at how to hopefully reignite that spark or explore it from the angle of Qi and consciousness and our physical space, and how to use the practice to feel more vibrant inside and replenished, and get that creative process, get more inspired and flourish. Get it moving.
And it started.
Get it
Start up, see where it goes, right?
Exactly.
And do people, if they were to come to this class, what do they need? Do they need to bring, do they need to dress a certain way? Do they need to be in a certain physical condition?
No, we can
Or not? How would you come to this class?
basically with an open mind. I would wear comfortable clothing. If you're at all compromised, if it's difficult to stand, maybe have a stool or a chair nearby that you can use. We can go through any of the movements you can do seated. If there are, limitations, we will definitely talk you through those. So basically, you just need a space where you can, not hit anything if you're going to reach out or behind you. And that's it.
After throwing something, talking about online, my dog has decided to get very comfortable in her bed, and she's not, so she's digging at it. I just threw a pear core at her. Do you think that'll help? Anyway, she can eat it. So there's a question there, how can you do this online? Does it work online? I mean, for me, the whole marsh, as far as I'm concerned, has worked online. I think probably Qigong will work to whatever extent things work online, better and worse. You'll be closer to Tracey. You'll be able to see everything with nobody in front of you, for one thing, online. But tell me a little bit about, and Kim too, what you think about doing this online.
It's a little more challenging because you're not in the same room with people, and it's a little more difficult to check each person, especially when there are going to be 50 people or more, I'm sure, in the class.
I think there's going to be 6 million. 6 million.
Exactly. It's a little more challenging, but it's, I think everything's possible. And I've done a few. Kim, I don't know if you've done online ones or not, but I've definitely taken other online classes, and you just adapt,
I think what we have found with MarshStream, some things are even better and some things you don't have. It's a different genre, it's a different experience, but it's a worthy one.
Right.
You don't have to be as self-conscious, because you're not having somebody standing right next to you watching you. So it's
right.
It's like when you do online yoga or an exercise class. There's a benefit too from being. You can be more in yourself doing it, I think, than you are in a room with everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so too.
And you don't have to go anywhere.
It's true.
You can stay in your pajamas.
It takes exactly 1 hour and 15 minutes to do it, start it, and end it. No, not much anything else. I always wonder, I know Tracey because she works with the Tibetan doctor I go to, the magnificent Tibetan doctor I go to. And also someone else I've worked with, and they're always like, Qigong versus yoga. So let's talk a little bit about Qigong versus yoga. Who wants to start on that one?
All I can say is I tried yoga a few times, and I didn't connect for me. It was, for me, it was, and it might be the classes I went to or the teachers, that I went, took it from, but I just didn't have the same, it just didn't resonate the same way for me.
So how does it resonate for you? The Qigong?
The Qigong, well, I needed something. I think that the difference for me with yoga was more of the classes I took anyway, were more of an exercise, with stretching. I needed something that was really going to help calm my mind and calm my body and help me to ground and be more centered in my body, because I wasn't, I didn't, for a long time, had no sense of my body. So I needed to be more, inward.
Kim, what about you? Have you also done yoga?
I've done yoga. Yeah, I like yoga. And I think for me, the difference is in Qigong, there's Qi. And you really can begin to feel Qi and the effects of Qi in your body. And especially in terms of calming and relaxing. And I've found it to be especially helpful this past year, during the COVID times. It's just the Qigong has been just the whole sense of bringing the nervous system down. And that, I know yoga can do it too, but I feel Qigong with the Qi, works a little bit deeper and quicker.
So I know that believe it or not, I'm a Reiki practitioner 1, or whatever that calls. And that's all about Qi too, I imagine. So for people who maybe have done some Reiki or get some Reiki or any other Qi things, how do they, I don't know what to say. Is there some way that they work mutually together, or they encourage each other when you're doing a different practice in addition to, say, the Qigong? A different Qi practice, or a practice also focused on, you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Do you know where I'm getting?
If you're doing energy work, you mean other types of energy work or other Qi related?
Yeah, how do they kind of help each other, support each other, you think?
I think they absolutely support each other. They, Qi is Qi. And in this practice, we're not guiding the Qi as in some other practices. So it can be a lot more accessible for some people. In some ways, it's simpler, to access.
Since this is the Marshes develop solo performance, and we're story purveyors and stuff like that, and I'll direct this maybe to Kim first, but Tracey, I'm sure about telling stories and stuff like that. Do you feel that what you've done in Qigong has supported your art, and if so, like how are there some how?
Well, I think anything that supports my health and well-being supports anything else I do, including any kind of creativity. So, that's sort of first and foremost, especially when you get in the middle of a project and you don't know where it's going, in terms of the middle of an edit or the beginning of an edit, or how's this film ever going to be a film, or it's never going to be a film. There's just, since I've been practicing the Qigong, I have tools and ways to just go back to trusting or being calm, or just, I notice a difference. I'm not so reactive. I'm not so, I just have more trust in the process. So I think that's been really helpful, the Qigong.
Do you feel the Qi when you're working on your art?
When I'm working when I'm doing the Qigong, I feel it. Yeah, I don't really feel it unless I'm consciously working, trying to bring it, bringing it into my body. But no, but I feel the effect. I feel the effects. I feel my body more, and I feel the sense of relaxation and calm more because I've worked on it. And they say in the Qigong, and I'm sure other practices, that the the more relaxed your body is, the more open it is to have healing happen. And whether that's physical healing, emotional healing, it's something that's really important. And so over the years of just doing it, I am more relaxed. Yeah.
So I had a question. It's like gone from my mind. I know. This is it. I want to ask you both the same question. What is the Qigong practice for each of you? You know, do you do it every day? For how long? You know, how does that work for you?
Tracey, you want to go? I know Tracey's a really good practitioner.
Well,
She's told me and I believe her.
well, I do practice every day. It's usually not the same practice. I sort of check in to see what it is I need. Do I need a more, more physical practice, or do I need a more seated practice, or should I do standing? It's sort of, what does my body need? What does my mind need during that time? When I typically do it in the morning. I try to get up and do it right away. Sometimes I can't. And I do notice a difference if I don't. So I try to do it as soon as I can in the daytime. It's kind of what my practice looks like.
Do you have like an approximate average of how long you do it every day?
Well, my average is about an hour and a half.
Wow, that's amazing, Tracey.
But I need it. I'm someone who needs it. If I don't do it, I notice a huge difference. Ask my husband.
What about you, Kim?
Well, most days I practice. There's a group in Sweden that practices in the evening. 6:30 their evening is 9:30 my morning, and I try 3 to 4 mornings a week to practice with them, and that's about an hour and a half. And that's 2 practices. It's the first practice, probably one of the practices that Tracey's going to teach, which is one where you're bringing Qi into the body. So it helps with any sort of depleted feeling. It just helps nourish and kind of replenish the body. And then I really try to do what Dorrie, both of them do. Dorrie talked about in the film, is just checking in all the time during the day. What is my mind doing? Where's my heart? Is my heart open, or is it closed? So just I'm continually doing that as a practice, as much as I can remember during the day.
So
right. There are a lot of different practices. Exactly. That just kind of makes me think that you can be practicing all day long, but it doesn't have to be the physical practice. So it's also the practice of awareness, like Kim is saying.
yeah. So you're doing it with a group in Sweden. Is that then online?
Yeah.
And is that with, well, no, Dorrie's in New Zealand, not
She's
Sweden.
in New Zealand, right? Yeah. No, neither one of them are in. Or yeah, it's just with a group of teachers, and I don't think they're all teachers, but actually they're from different countries in Europe. I think I don't even know where they're all from, but it's nice to do it. We don't say anything. We just sort of, somebody turns the tape on, and then we just all do the practice. I'm not looking at the screen. I know the practice, but it's just knowing that I'm doing it with the group is really a nice thing.
Well, which person puts the tape on?
Well, there's one person in Sweden that does. Yeah. One person will always put it on, not me. I just hang out with them.
It all just comes to the Qi field.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna go to the nitty gritty. Which one puts the tape on?
Important things.
Which drummer do you beat to?
Mhm.
I'm, one final question from me, and I'll look and see whatever. But it's a time right now of violence toward Asians right now, and Qigong, is it Chinese? So where does it come from?
China. Yeah.
And What?
Yuan.
He's from China. But I mean,
Yeah.
does he live in China?
No, he lives in New Zealand. Yeah. He left New Zealand, what, I don't know, 20 years ago, almost, probably. Yeah. I mean, he left China for New Zealand. He really felt like he wanted to, he felt like he'd had more freedom to be outside of China doing what he was doing and also developing his own life cultivation, which is what this Wang Gong and Renshi is.
So this is where he felt the freedom to
Yeah.
divert or to build his
Yeah.
his inner teaching trainings.
Right.
Okay, then we have a question from Dana. Kim, what was it like to be around Dorrie and Norberto? Was there something unusual?
No, there's nothing unusual other than and the same with Yuansa. When I interviewed Yuansa, you just feel so good. You know, you just feel really good. I can't explain it. You know, maybe it's like being around, say you're one of your most favorite person in the world. What is it like to be around that person? You know, they're just, because they are just they're just exuding love, but in a way where there's no judgment. They're just accepting, I guess. But I didn't know any of this when I started the film, and you know, I didn't know that they could read my mind or anything. And I started out with Norberto, you know, filming him, and then it just became apparent. Some things happened, and like, do you like, before I ask the question, you already know what I'm going to ask, you know? It was, but we were just laughed about it. It was kind of a light thing, and I joked, and I said, well, why am I even asking questions? You know, he goes, no, you have to ask the question, you know. But they make their kind of special ability not seem you know, out of the ordinary, even though it is. They're just so normal.
So he can read your mind?
Yeah. They know everything.
Anything else besides knowing everything and reading your mind?
Well, their experience is one of being connected to everything. So they don't feel a separation between themselves and anyone else, or a tree, or, you know, the sky, or a bird. There is not a separation. I mean, we don't really have the language for that. You know, what is that? That's their experience. And
between your minds, so there's nothing to read. It's just all out there.
Right, and they can see in your body. You know, I mean, a lot of people that have not necessarily enlightened can still do that, or still have the ability to see inside of a body, to see how healthy it is. They're able to do that, but they've also, you once said, when they first had this opening experience, had said to them, well, this is just the beginning. So when we originally filmed, it was almost 3 years ago, and they had already had the experience, you know, a year before or 2 years before that, and they are still having continual experiences. Like, there's no end to the experiences. You know, I'm not in regular contact with them, so I don't really even know what they are, but they're teaching, and they're sort of out in the world, and, you know, they have students, and Tracey and I both do things with them. They're great teachers. So yeah, it's really interesting to be around them.
So you'll have to do part 2. What happens? How do their experiences flower day by day, decade
Yeah.
by decade? Well, that'd be one of those ones. You know how they did those documentaries about those kids
Every 7 years, yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, and especially for Norberto, he's so young.
how old is he?
I think he was 35 when we filmed 34, so he's, you know, 38 or something, 37, 38.
Wow.
Dorrie's early 50s, so
There's time.
there's time.
Well, Tracey, you're going to be teaching starting on Wednesday. You want to talk a little bit about that before we close? This has been so exciting, and what a wonderful film and an eye-opening, and I can't wait to do it now. So anything you want to Say.
I'm just seeing this question, how does Qigong differ from Tai Chi, and is there a routine of poses to learn? How many? So my understanding, the difference between Tai Chi and Qigong is that Tai Chi is more using the Qi externally, and with the Qigong, we are using it internally. So there's a huge emphasis on being internal with this practice. We do it with our eyes closed if we can. I mean, if somebody feels off balance, then obviously keep your eyes open, but the emphasis is staying internal. And are there a routine of poses? There are practices. I mean, there are different methods. But it's not as complex as Tai Chi, which I did try 2 classes of. And that's a lot to learn. Some of the forms have more movements. The one that we're going to teach is fairly easy and simple. And what we're going to do is also make it so that we'll pull bits of that form out so that people can have like a takeaway with each class, that you don't have to, we will do the full form each class, sort of like Simon says to begin with. You just follow our lead and just do it. And then with each class, we'll go deeper into it. But you'll have a takeaway with each class, a part of the practice that you can use as a standalone practice to use during the week, until we get back together. So you can take portions of the larger forms and have a simple practice to do with it.
And so by the end of 5 weeks, you'll have a little starter.
Yes. The beginner.
Beginner class.
101.
Qigong 101.
I saw, no, go ahead.
I was just saying Yuan Gong 101.
Yeah.
What was it?
I just saw in the chat, somebody said, how do I connect with Dorrie? I mean, if anyone wants to make a connection with Dorrie or Norberto or Yuanza, through finding out what his schedule is. I think Brian might have put the RenshuAmericas.org website up, but there's also the film already free. Is it already free film, Tracey? Already
Free film, yeah.
Yeah. So there you can find Dorrie and Norberto's contact info.
Okay, well, we've come to the end of our time. This is wonderful. It was wonderful to see the film. It was wonderful to talk to you both.